and then we'll just. Oops. You got it, Dion. You figured it out. I'm trying to figure out how to delete that right now. Hide it. Did it hide?
No.
The first one, the StreamYard? No. Mm-hmm. Great. So it says show. Oh, there it is. No. No. Fun. Because hey, Ellie. Okay, because I can put myself in timeout, or I can block myself because I was the one who posted it.
You should be able to hit remove with the 3 dots, I think.
Like when I click the 3 dots, it just says put user in timeout or block user.
Okay, well, everybody just leave some comments and let's like get rid of it and push it all the way up. I don't know. How's everyone doing?
Exactly.
Hey, Dion. Hey, Emily. Hey, Emily as well. Both Emilys are here. Rihanna. I think you're muted, Shrita.
There I am.
Okay. There you go.
Emily, where are you going? 6 hours? Jesus. All the Emilys. There's Brianna. Hey, Jessica. Yeah, we're just gonna let some people come in first before we get started. Because I don't know if you guys. Oh, thank you, Emily. I don't know if you guys watched me and Dion last week, but we talked for like 2 hours. Hey, reality. So I figured, we might as well just make this a thing because why not?
Cool.
I enjoy it. From Maine. Oh my, from Maine to Columbus. Wow. Yeah, that's a far drive.
Yeah.
All right. So make sure everybody likes this video and also share the link so we can get more people in here. I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah. We've got a couple of topics to discuss today.
Yeah, we do. A couple. And honestly, I don't think any of it has specifically to do with anything that happened this week in, like in the drama world, but just things that we've seen happen. One person in particular, but we will get there. Thanks. Okay, so the lipstick this is a liquid suede. It's from NYX, and it's called Jet Set. And this is
absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. It's like my favorite lip. My favorite. And I'm going to be doing a video about my favorite lipsticks. So look out for that. All right. Okay.
Yeah. We were going to be talking about which should we start with? What do you think?
We can start with the boy who I believe his name is Christian. Okay. And
see, I never took the time to learn his name because I just wasn't interested in what he had to say.
Well, the reason why I know his name is because I knew about him because he's actually in the cheerleading world. And so if you guys don't know, like I was a cheerleader. I now judge for cheerleading. And then of course there's a lot of racism in the cheer world because it's a predominantly white, ran sport. But he also is an athlete at one of the most racist gyms. Like it's not a secret that the gym that he cheers at is very racist.
Okay.
And so before he made it onto regular Twitter, he was he was known in the cheer world. And his name is Christian. I mean, at least that's what his Twitter handle says. But I mean, he's made it to TikTok. He's made it, like it's not just Twitter anymore. And a part of me feels like he's trolling.
I don't think that's what I'm getting from it. Just from that one video I saw, I don't think he was trolling. So sort of the video that I saw was that one that's the only one I saw from him because I didn't want to learn anymore. We saw this video of him basically saying that Black men are like killing each other and they're the reason why racism exists, and just stuff like that sort of rhetoric, like very anti-Black rhetoric. And I couldn't understand why someone would want to spread that rhetoric, first of all, but at the same time, I do sort of get it because that's the sort of rhetoric that gets Black people boosted in white spaces. Sort of the coddling and the, Black people are so bad and evil, but I'm not one of those ones,
Right. And if you guys don't know, this young boy, man, whatever you want to call him, he's mixed race. I don't know. I'm assuming his mom is white based on his hairline alone. And also, but I'm assuming the other half of him is Black. I'm assuming he looks mixed race and he looks half white, half Black. And once he started saying those things like, oh, it's the Black men that are killing, other Black people. And then the reason why I feel like he's trolling is because he became very like, do you remember the girl Treasure who went on Dr. Phil? That was like, he was pushing it like to that extreme where he was saying things like, well, maybe if Black men would raise their children or, things like that, like, oh, Black men don't raise their kids. They stay out the home. They're always in jail. But number one, that's completely false because I mean, my dad's Black and my dad has been in my life for all 35 years. So that right there is false. I have a 9-year-old son. His Black dad has been in his life for 9 years, and it's just, he's pushing this narrative and everything that he pushes against Black men are negative. So that makes me think that maybe his Black dad hurt him. So he's taking it out on everybody else.
I could see that being the case.
But again,
it's dangerous rhetoric, though. I really don't like it. Mainly because that is what gets pushed and perpetuated. And it gives sort of the racist white people or the people who are undecided in the middle, right?
Correct.
About racism. It gives them that sort of out to hold those dangerous ideologies and say, oh, I'm not racist because somebody Black said it. And it's fine because somebody Black said it. Right.
Exactly. And it's so dangerous. And I don't know if you watched my video on Terry Crews, but he does the same thing, but he doesn't do it as like overtly as this little boy does.
I would even say, though, if we're comparing them, I would say they're very similar, mainly because Terry Crews does have that sort of audience. He has more audience and push. So it's almost like equally as harmful, if not more, when Terry Crews does it.
True.
But it's not as like cartoonishly as you're saying, like the boy is. Right.
It's not as blatant. Like he's not out here. The only thing that I didn't agree with what Terry Crews said is, oh, Black Lives Matter doesn't care about the 9 children that got shot in Chicago. And it's like,
when did anyone say that?
Wait, what? Like,
what?
I promise you, everybody cares about those kids that got shot in Chicago. I promise you.
Right.
So, but for him to say that nobody cares. But yeah, that Christian boy, again, he probably believes what he's saying, but on the other hand, it's like, stop giving these people a platform, like you said, for them to say, oh, look, they believe, or this Black person thinks the exact same way that I do. Hey, Alyssa and Dion, yes, they need to stop talking about Chicago. Like, listen, we understand Chicago has their issues, but Chicago is not the main issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, and they have programs to combat violence. But if you're just going to talk about, oh, those kids who got shot, okay, again, there's nothing I can do to prevent, like thug number 1, 2, and 3 on the street. But what I can do is I can push for defunding the police.
Right.
I can push to make a better system, which
exactly.
Which who knows, like maybe that will help the Black on Black violence. And that's the other thing that Christian boy was saying. He talked about, oh, it's Black on Black. Like everything that he said is just like what racist white people say about Black people that they don't know.
Definitely. And statistically, it's been proven like Black on Black crime is not a thing. It's called crime. What is that word? Crime in like a certain area. So if obviously our neighborhoods are still segregated, in a sense of like generational, like wealth and generational neighborhoods, like the same neighborhoods are segregated. The white neighborhoods, white people are killing white people in the neighborhoods. They don't call it white on white crime.
Right.
The Black people in Black neighborhoods are killing each other if, crime or whatever. But now it's Black on Black crime. But it's just crime because like you're in the same area and you're living with the same people. You're going to commit crimes in more so your same area unless you're going to another area to commit a crime.
Right. And again, a Black person has never killed another Black person because they were Black. Mm-hmm. That's never happened. Like you said, it's crime, period.
Proximity. There you go, Alyssa. Proximity crime.
Yes. That's what it's called. But yeah, people just want to sit there and pretend that like, I don't know. It just makes it seem that Black people are inherently
evil and the disgusting animals or whatever.
Yeah. And that's why Black people like me, like I've been called, oh, you're one of the good ones. And I'm like, what do you mean one of the good ones? Like, I don't know how to answer to that. I don't know how to respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I saw that little boy on TikTok. So there's a guy on TikTok that I follow. I forget his name. I think his name is like Conscious Lee or something like that. Listen, don't go on TikTok because you get sucked into this rabbit hole. And then 3 hours later, you're like, wait, what was I supposed to be doing? Because you're like sucked into TikTok. But
I used to be on TikTok, but I couldn't do it anymore. Mainly because TikTok is racist and they've openly admitted that they don't like Black people and they don't push them through the algorithm.
True.
Also, just like it was very time consuming. Like it's designed to be addictive and for you to sit there and scroll for like literally hours.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. And so like I've had to, see Dion, 2 hours on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
But I found myself, and you get to a part of TikTok that you find and you're just like, finally, like people that I agree with, and you're not pushed with like, the same white teenagers doing the same busted ass dance that they got from a Black influencer. You end up on to that side where you're just like, okay, finally, like this is where I need to be. But yeah, I think his name is like Conscious Lee or something like that. And he ended up getting into it with the Christian boy. And like I said, it got all the way to TikTok from him just spewing like this hate. And everything that he says is just a negative stereotype. Everything that he says.
Right. Mason Young says they went to a very conservative Christian high school and they forced horrible racist ideals down their throats, literally. And I feel like that's a big part of why America is the way it is right now, because it's like almost indoctrination in a sense. Like racism is like a learned thing from like birth. Like parents pass it down to their kids and then it stays like alive. That's why I feel like right now people say, oh, racism is kind of over because, slavery ended and so did segregation or whatever. I'm just like, no, it's really not over. That's sort of like an excuse, or the I don't see color because I can choose to be blind to that. I feel like that's just that's a part of it as well. It's indoctrination, and we indoctrinate. Well, not we, but
Right.
certain white people who are racist indoctrinate their children into their racism, and it continues to perpetuate that sort of negativity in the world.
Right. Just like people are calling now. I haven't watched Black is King yet. You know, the Beyonce show or whatever. I haven't watched it, but there was, you know, one part where it was a bunch of Black people and a white butler, and everybody was like, Black supremacy. And it's like, wait, what? And to me, I want to ask them, well, what color, what race did you expect the butler to be? Answer
Right.
that. But they can't answer it because they know that it's racist to say, well, I assume the butler would be Black. But like, didn't Batman, a whole ass white man, have a white butler?
Right.
So I don't understand. Like, that's the racism that we're talking about.
And the thing too is like it's almost like whenever there's representation for us as Black people, we have to like scrape and like try to just scrape together a crumb of recognition or anything like this. And whenever there's a little bit of negative representation, I would say that being a butler isn't necessarily negative representation.
No,
but whenever white people have to sort of face that, it's like outrage for like no reason. But we have to face negative representation all the time. The only characters we get to play in movies are like the thugs, the gangbangers, the criminals in jail. Like that's literally the only representation that we get. But then when we create our own shows and we have certain other people being those negative sort of whatevers, those roles, then it's like they understand why it's annoying or harmful, right?
But then they call it racist.
Racism is not, you can't be racist to white people. I feel like I have to say this like every week because literally racism has to do with power dynamics and oppression. So if we as Black people don't have the power in our society, our white supremacist society, might I add, if we don't have the power to actively oppress you and benefit from your oppression, then it's literally not the same as like racism in the sense of them being racist towards us.
Right. And then they have to admit, oh, this is what you guys mean by white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want to admit that white supremacy is a thing.
Right.
Mason Young, so yeah. So you said I had to unlearn all of that stuff. Yeah. Okay. So me, myself, I had to unlearn a lot of racist things too. I remember watching TV shows, and I remember being younger and people telling me like, oh, you don't act Black or this or that. And in my head, I knew that every Black person I knew wasn't a thug or whatever negative stereotypes they played on TV. I knew nobody I knew was like that. But that's how the world looked at all Black people. So when they came across any Black person, they'd be like, oh, you're not like those Negroes. And it's like, looking back on it, it's just like that, like, it's crazy how much the media puts into your head about how a certain person is. And I saw this article or a newspaper, and it was two stories. One was a white teenage boy who had killed like somebody, some people, whatever. And then it was a Black guy who like robbed a place. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who robbed a store, I mean, front and center, his face, I mean, it was the headline. And then it was like this little corner of this, you know, the white boy. And it was like,
little Timothy committed murder.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. And it's just like, so do you not see what systemic racism actually looks like?
And there are lots of instances of articles like that, literally all the time. Every time, like almost every week, something like that goes viral on Twitter because you have, Latasha is arrested for possession of like 1 ounce of marijuana or whatever, right. And she's arrested for like several years. But then over here, like Becky or Leslie or anyone else who is not Black is arrested for like a month, and then they get out early because they like committed like a violent crime.
Right.
It's ridiculous, and it's like our system is literally built to like villainize us as Black people.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. I absolutely hate it, and it needs to be like fixed.
Right. It does. It really, really does. And
I think it starts with the police. Police reform or abolishment would like fix a lot of the issues.
I agree 100%. That's where it starts. Yes, Brock Turner. That's another one. That man, I mean, got chased off by other guys because they found him literally on top of a girl who was passed out.
Mm-hmm.
And then his dad, oh, he was just being a boy, or okay. What? Is that what being a boy entails? Or he was just enjoying himself? And it's just like, you've got to be kidding me. And what was his, what was his profile? A swimmer, a college swimmer. And the judge was like, well, I don't want to ruin his life, so he shouldn't have to.
Yeah, well, every day our lives get ruined as Black people. We get thrown in prison for literally years for like nonviolent crimes,
right?
Drug possession charges. Which this is a side tangent. I think like drugs should just be legal, and that's something different. Yeah, because the criminalization of drugs literally is what is getting us incarcerated at such high rates, and for nonviolent crimes. But that's a whole different conversation. Right. But I forgot what I was saying. Oh my god.
No, but well, to piggyback off of the drug thing, it's funny how Black people, are in jail for weed, which now is like legal. And something just doesn't sit right in my spirit with white people like selling weed legally and making so much money off of it. It just doesn't sit right with me.
While we're rotting in jails and prison for possession.
For possession of marijuana. We're not talking like cocaine or crack or whatever, but now we have, white housewife moms who are sitting at home addicted to opioids, and now it's a problem. Now it's like, ooh, we need to get them help because opioids are legal, but weed. And I mean, I don't know too many people or too many instances where people had to go to drug rehab because of just weed. But it's like, it's so frustrating now that opioids are being abused
by white people. It depends who it's being used by, because it's almost like glamorized when it comes to white people and then villainized when it comes to Black people. Like how cocaine was sort of glamorized back in the day when white people were doing all the rich white people. But then once Black people start doing it, it's dirty, gross. We have to throw them in jail. Oh, crack is bad. It's worse than this and that. And like, but it's like specifically it has to do with race. And I don't get why people don't understand that.
Right.
And now, like you said, the opioid opioid epidemic is such a big thing. And it's mostly affecting white people because they're the ones who are being prescribed things from doctors because people don't believe Black women or Black men about their pain that they're experiencing. So it almost kind of bit them in the ass that they are being prescribed these pills, right? But now that it's affecting them and it's white people being negatively impacted, it matters so much now, and we have to fix the problem. We have to get them help. We have to start these programs.
Yeah.
But if someone Black is like addicted to like a drug, maybe let's say they're addicted to cocaine or they're addicted to like meth or like anything, literally any drug. But now it's time to throw them in jail. We're not going to help them. They're still going to be addicted. They're going to go through withdrawals in prison, or they're going to find drugs in prison and continue to be addicted.
Right. Yep. That's I don't know, but I agree with you when you say it starts with the police, because I don't think every bad instance needs the cops called on them, As people who are having like a psychotic episode.
Right.
The cops don't need to be called. Like who else can we call? But there's no money in those programs. So we can't call somebody to help them. We can't call a social worker. We can't call a mental health specialist. And it's funny because, I mean, doctors deal with crazy, people all the time, just like cops do. And I hate when people use the excuse, well, what do you do if like a 6 foot, 250 pound man is being crazy?
You don't shoot them or kill them.
Like,
I mean, they have tasers for a reason as well, which I think tasers are very violent as well, and they can kill people,
yeah.
depending on like if you have like a weak heart or whatever is going on with your body. But it's not. Why is the go-to always just like murder? Like we just, oh, it's okay to kill.
Right. And it stems from not listening. Like, that makes no sense to me. Hey, you didn't listen to me, so I'm going to shoot you.
Right.
Like, honestly, make it make sense.
It doesn't. And it really doesn't. And this is sort of how we've been living forever.
Yeah.
And it never made sense, but it's the system that was perpetuated and it's centered around it seeming to make sense. So sort of how like that sort of mentality of everything white is right. And
time out for 2 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Ugh.
You don't get how so many people get shot if they have tasers. It's because they hate Black people, in my opinion. I really do think that's what it is. And they're okay with seeing us get hurt, murdered, killed. They don't really care about our lives because they sure would use the taser on like maybe a white person, or even like there's so many like mass shooters who have been like arrested like peacefully without like actual violence. Like some people who shoot up churches and like stores and like Walmarts, they will be arrested if they're white and go to jail and like serve time and get to live. Honey says it's genocide, and I agree. I definitely agree that it's like genocidal.
Sorry,
Yes.
y'all, getting groceries.
Oh, all good. Honey says, and with the post-traumatic stress disorder rates Black Americans experience, drug addiction is a humanitarian crisis. I would agree with that. And I feel like sort of it's kind of ingrained in almost our DNA as Black people to be like stressed out all the time because of racism. Like the amount of stress that we're under all of the time simply because we live in a world that doesn't want us and doesn't care about whether or not we live, die, we starve to death or whatever. I feel like that really does affect our mental health and makes us very like sort of different. And like we have to deal with the stress like constantly. And it's not good for our mental health at all. Dion says they can unarm white people with actual weapons. Yeah, exactly. Texas Chick says they have the authority to assess the situation and use guns. And it's ridiculous because it's almost like they don't actually assess the situation and they just use the gun. Like yeah. That's literally the go-to in almost any video I've ever seen of like a police officer confrontation with a Black person. Like their hand immediately reaches for the gun if they get like scared or whatever. And just being Black scares them. So their hands are like usually always on their gun, ready to whip it out at any given moment. And yeah.
Ooh,
hey Audra, how are you?
To piggyback off that. Hey Audra, cops go, I mean, they don't do enough training, but they go through so much training, and we are supposed to just like we're supposed to know how to react during those kind of situations.
Right. No, I don't think cops go through that much training. Don't they only go through like 40? I have to look this up. Let me not be wrong.
A whole work week. Thank you.
I mean, considering how much training everyone else has to go through for their jobs, I think police don't go through as much training. And they're not trained in de-escalation. They're trained in literally like how to murder someone. Like I feel like they get more training on how to use their weapon to kill somebody than to de-escalate a situation or to solve crimes.
Right. But we are supposed to know how to react in that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, well, you shouldn't have done this. Okay, if somebody's holding a gun to my hand, or to my head, I'm going to panic. Period.
Right. What are you supposed to do?
Like, you don't know what to do. That's just like the one that really, really frustrates me is Philando Castile. He did everything that he was supposed to do. He said, you know, the guy was like, do you have your license? He said, yes, but I also have a gun and I'm registered and it's in here. Do you want me to get my ID? Yes. He reaches for, to open it up. Don't reach. And then shoots him?
Right.
How does that make any sense?
It doesn't make sense.
Oh, hold on. Sorry.
Yeah, they just don't care. And yeah, the training thing, I really want to look it up and see how many hours you have to go through of training to become a police officer, because I don't think it's that many, especially not compared to like actual like mental health workers, people who are actually helping people, doctors. It's nothing compared to that. And I feel like if we're putting deadly weapons in the hands of like people and giving them authority to, solve crimes and situations or whatever, they should be going through so much more training for de-escalation and how to solve these crimes and fix these issues without the use of their weapon.
Right. But yeah, every officer does need to be retrained. I think
it's not even just that though, because it's been reported that most officers, like, they're in like racist hate groups. Like, it's been reported that that's the case. So I feel like it needs to be something where we strip everyone of their police status, or just like completely, they have to be rehired and reevaluated and go through a separate sort of training, and just each one needs to be looked into, because if they're going to be these public figures of sort of authority and whatnot, they need to be able to do their jobs correctly if we're even considering keeping police around.
Right. And they need to be held accountable. I don't understand why it's so hard. Like, I understand they're cops, but number one, they chose to be cops, right? And if a civilian did half of the shit that cops did, no, they would have been in prison, period. Mm-hmm. So why are they held to a higher standard? That's why I don't understand why, like, athletes or actors or, like, why are they held to a higher standard? Like, work at McDonald's and show up late one day.
Right.
Or work at McDonald's and get an order wrong and have Karen complain. Guess what? You no longer have a job. But cops are out here literally killing people. It's fine.
Yeah.
The person shouldn't have done whatever.
We'll just rotate them to the next precinct over here, or give them paid leave for like a month or two, let everybody forget, let it blow over a little bit, and then they'll come back.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, especially the racist cops. And I don't think cops police their neighborhoods enough. I don't think they know, their neighbors or like the neighborhood that they're supposed to be policing.
Oh, they don't. I saw this actually great video the other day of someone who was sort of giving this like basically speech about how police don't police their own neighborhoods, mm-hmm. and their taxpayer dollars are being funneled into the paychecks of these police officers who are from like the suburbs.
Right.
And it's literally taking resources from this community, sending the police to over police this neighborhood here, mm-hmm. and harming this neighborhood, harming these Black people, harming these people who live here. And also stealing their resources and sending them out.
Right.
So it's like,
yeah, it's frustrating, and people just want to back the blue so much. And it's like, why can't, like, and people want to try to make it like it's a political thing, but it's not political at all. It's not political. Like, it's human rights. Like, I don't see the issue in saying, like, stop killing people. Like, I don't understand how that's become political.
I don't either. It shouldn't be. Like, why are we okay? Why are we so okay with the fact that these people are allowed to steal lives? And then it's always, well, we shouldn't imprison the police officer because they have families too. Well, the Black people that are getting murdered have families.
Right. I saw that and it was ridiculous. Somebody said that about Breonna Taylor. Well, Breonna Taylor, like, the guys who killed her, they have families. Congratulations. So does everybody else in the world. Like, right. that argument.
And even if you don't have a family, even if you're just a lone person and you're living on your own, you don't know anybody, you still don't deserve to be murdered.
Right. You still have a life. Like, mm-hmm. That was her life. And I hate when people say, well, if you would just listen, you probably wouldn't get killed. And okay, but Breonna Taylor was asleep.
Yeah. She was
So,
asleep in her home. In her home.
right. Or even Botham John, he was eating ice cream in his house. Oh, yeah. Breonna Taylor, she was talking about starting a whole family on her Twitter.
Hmm.
So,
Audra
I don't know.
says the second the feds pulled out of Portland, the violent confrontation stopped. And that's the thing. These violent confrontations are because of the police officers escalating things. They're not trained in de-escalation. They don't want their power to be taken away because they know that's what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
So they're actively trying to harm protesters and harm us and continue to further their sort of oppressive tendencies on us.
Right. Yeah. It's frustrating and it's scary knowing that, the next person could be, my dad, my uncle, my cousin. It's every day. It's every day.
Exactly. It's so stressful.
Yeah.
And it's like, it literally, for me though, personally, it stresses me out because I don't even want to leave the house anymore. But even then, I know I'm not safe because, oh, look, there's a black guy in that house. I can see him through the window. Let's call the cops because maybe he doesn't live in this neighborhood or whatever.
Right. Oh, I've never seen him. He probably doesn't belong here.
Right. It's ridiculous, and I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And I mean, to circle back to that Christian boy, he is doing nothing but perpetuating, that narrative and
those excuses.
allowing people to continue to say, no, the cops are doing exactly, they're doing what they should be doing. They were right by, murdering this person and blah, blah, blah. But that, I mean, and just like you, I didn't listen too much to what that boy had to say because it was too much. Like, there's certain things that I just can't listen to. And that's one of them. I can't listen to somebody just say dumb things like that to make it seem like it's okay to kill, an oppressed group. And the craziest thing is, I mean, and I might just be stereotyping, but I'm pretty sure he's gay. So he,
That's what I was getting from it too. But I mean, that's why when I sort of retweeted it, I was like, my home of phobia jumped out.
Yeah. And it's like, so like if a person got killed just because they were gay, what rhetoric would you spew? Would you say, oh, well, they deserved it because gay people kill more gay people? Or just right. What he was saying just didn't make sense.
It doesn't match up. That's the thing, is it's so illogical. It's irrational. Like, these excuses, but they've been perpetuated for so long that so many people believe them as like a fact.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. And they're not willing to look at like literal statistics and say, white people in white neighborhoods are murdering and committing crimes at the same rate as black people in black neighborhoods. It's like, it's a simple, basic, like, look at the graph, look at the chart, and it's there.
Those are the numbers that they don't want to see. They see the numbers of the amount of black people who are incarcerated, but that's just another form of slavery.
Yeah, that's literally what the prison industrial complex is. It's another form of slavery. They're over-policing black people, sending them into these prisons, making them work for literally pennies a day, manufacturing products. Yeah. It's literally slave labor all over again. That's how they sort of reintroduce slavery into our society, because they're like, we have to free these black people, but how can we continue to benefit off of them? They've already built our country. We've already profited off of their free labor and their torment. Mm-hmm. But now we have to free them. So let's say we're going to free them, create a new system of policing and imprisonment, and it'll perpetuate the same system of slavery.
Yep. Same thing. And we're just going to keep the white people on top.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally all it is. It's just like, okay, we have to keep the white people on top. And it's like, no, we don't have to. They want to look at misleading, misframed statistics from the 80s. That's exactly what
Exactly. Audra says, if cops were regularly randomly killing white people every day, the entire conversation would change. And I agree with that.
Absolutely. And
that feeds into the mentality of like, people don't care about things that don't affect them until they affect them personally.
Yep. My favorite is when you tell somebody, oh, well, cops are killing black people at an alarming rate. And they're like, well, cops are killing white people too. And it's like, oh, so you agree the cops are killing people.
Right.
Like, that's the argument.
The thing
like,
too is they don't care. I feel like they don't care about these things. They argue in bad faith. Like them bringing up, oh, well, they kill white people too. It's to excuse the behavior and defend it. They don't really care that the cops are killing people. They just want to shut you up by saying, oh, look, things are happening here too.
Right.
When even though that's the case, it's not at the same rate as with black people.
No,
and they're not being killed because they're white.
Correct. They're not being killed because they're white. There's just so many black people who did not deserve to die, and that's a hill that I am literally willing to die on. And, black people are, especially little black boys, well, I guess black girls too, but little black boys are, they're looked at as older, like a 12-year-old boy. Oh, he's got to be at least 17. And it's like, that's a literal child.
Exactly. I feel like they do that with young girls as well. They over-sexualize them as women when they're literally like 6 or 7. Oh, you're too grown to have that haircut. You're too grown. Why are you wearing that? Like,
yeah.
They're children.
Right. So how about let them wear what they want to wear and you stop sexualizing them like a creep?
Right.
So, Audra says, and for some, it's not even that they don't care. It's that they don't want to face up to the very real fact that racism is still alive and well.
Yes. I feel like that's true.
They're more afraid of being called racist than the actual racism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It's weird to me. And then they start the whole like, oh, well, I don't see color.
That's not the woke take that people think it is.
Not
having the privilege of not being able to see or being able to just sort of brush aside like racial inequality it's not a good thing. Like, I don't get that sort of mentality that they think that they're doing something or saying something profound by saying, I don't see color. I think everyone's equal. Well, you can think everyone's equal, but we're telling you we're not being treated equally. Like, right. We can statistically show you. Yeah, we can prove it to you with actual evidence that we're not being treated equally.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to see it because they don't see color.
Right.
Talking about racism is racist.
Right.
That's one of the ridiculous things I've heard.
Yeah, and then who says that? There's a black, is it Morgan Freeman? I think it's Morgan Freeman that's like, oh, if we just stop talking about racism, it'll go away. Or he's somebody.
It was Morgan Freeman who said that, but I think recently he denounced that statement because people were using it like that.
Yeah, because white people were using it like, see, Morgan Freeman said if we stop talking about it. Okay, but Morgan Freeman is rich.
Yeah.
Like, if Morgan
the thing too is like when having these conversations, we do also have to acknowledge sort of like the wealth gap and how that affects us as well. It affords rich people certain privileges, even if you are black. You still have that blackness, so that does sort of disadvantage you in a sense. But having the wealth and money, it puts you in a different position than people who don't have that same sort of privilege of having the wealth and money.
Right.
And sort of that's why I feel like we have to sort of just, I don't know, capitalism is like the worst thing in the world, I feel. It's really ruined our society as a whole. Rich people own like at least like 50% of all of the money in like the US right now, like the top 3%.
Yeah.
And
it's ridiculous.
And then we have people who are like poor or middle class saying, well, it's fine. I can be that rich one day. No, I promise. Like,
you won't.
It's to fool you into thinking like them doing those little things of like, oh, just work hard and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. We can all be rich one day. That's not true. It's a scam to sort of make you complacent with being poor.
Yeah, I know. It's sad. And there's, I don't know. That's just like Lil Wayne, where he was like, racism doesn't exist. A cop once helped me. Yes, because you're Lil Wayne.
Exactly. You have that privilege.
If you were not Lil Wayne, I promise you would be in prison right now. Like, I promise Lil Wayne would be in prison.
Yeah, and I don't get how people don't see that. Like, having money, wealth, or whatever affords you certain privileges. But that doesn't mean that everyone else black is afforded those same privileges. We're still seen as animals. But if you're like if you're black and you have a little bit of money, then you're seen as an animal with money.
Right.
Like, you know,
right.
oh, how can I befriend them because I like that they're wealthy or whatever? Like,
Right.
and how can that sort of benefits you more in a way than it does everyone else, which is why I feel like if we're not sort of doing things for the betterment of the entire community, one person like being successful really doesn't matter, in my opinion. Like, we can have, but because then it becomes a tokenistic type thing. We can have a Beyonce being successful, right? We can have a Jay-Z, a Lil Wayne. We can have like all these people being successful, but what are they doing for everyone else? Like, how is the wealth being sort of distributed for everyone else?
It's not. And so Texas Chick, she said Chris Rock was correct when he talked about being rich and having wealth. All right. So Chris Rock is my favorite comedian just because everything he speaks is facts. But it's one of those things where like it's funny because it's true. And he was talking about how, I mean, Chris Rock is rich, you know. He's a famous actor, a famous comedian. And he was talking about the neighborhood that he lives in. And he's like, you know, I live in the same neighborhood as like all these other, you know, famous Black people. And he goes, but my neighbor is a white dentist. Like, he's not famous, but this white man gets to live in the same area with all these rich Black people, you know?
Definitely.
Rich, famous Black people. He's not going to live next door to a Black doctor.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. It's like, that also shows how unequal we are treated in society, because we can be making the same wages and white people will still be more successful with how they live.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then they don't have to deal with like the constant stress of being in a racist white supremacist society and being Black. Right.
But yeah, I don't know. You're right. It's just so frustrating. So frustrating, but whatever.
Another thing we have written down here was that positive fetishization.
Oh God. Oh God. So
what are your thoughts on that, Sharita?
So I feel like it's very rampant in the Black community, but I feel like it's in just every ethnic, you know, and it's funny that we brought this up because I just saw this tweet today. It wasn't a Black girl, but it was this Asian woman. It was a tweet and it said, why don't people like you, or why aren't you dating or whatever. And
I think I saw a tweet like that earlier.
Yeah, and this white guy was like, oh, well, I'm ugly and this, that, and the other. This white guy then like posted a picture of him and his girlfriend, wife, fiance, I don't know, but she was Asian, and was like, dude, you just have to come down to like to the Philippines countries. Yeah. And you know, in the United States, I'm a 4, but down here I'm a 10. Just get you an Asian girl. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. But there's a lot of just like fetishization. Just like, I don't know. They like, when it comes to Black women, they like our curves. They like our, you know, our big asses. They like, you know, they like everything about us, but they don't like the fact that we're Black.
Right.
They like they love our bodies. They love our lips. They love everything, but they're just like, okay, but you're Black, so I don't really like that. And it's disgusting. And I think that's why it's weird not weird, but you have to be cautious if you decide to date outside of your race, because you're like, okay, do they really like me, or are they just with me because they want to just stare at me?
They want a chocolate, dark coffee queen, or whatever people have been saying.
My chocolate caramel, honey nut, frosted cocoa puff. Like, what?
Right. And that's the thing too. And which is sort of why I've personally decided to not necessarily date white men anymore. Because I used to date white men a lot. And mostly I've had bad experiences of being fetishized, like almost every relationship, it's been a fetishization type thing.
Ugh.
And I've made videos about this on my channel previously, about that guy who he put hot sauce on my foot
Oh,
because
yes!
he thought I would taste like fried chicken. And yeah, that was one instance. And another instance, just there have been so many instances. And it's just sort of been my thing. It's just like, I don't like the fact that I have to constantly vet these people that I'm dating and see if I'm being fetishized by them, or see if they actually like just don't care that I'm Black, or like they just, it's like, I don't know, it's weird. And then you have the people who are okay with being fetishized. And they think it's like a compliment.
You're pretty for a Black girl.
Right.
Or,
and like, oh, since that person's being the only white person who's been nice to me, this must be a compliment, and it makes me feel good, so that means it's okay. Like,
that's that white acceptance, which is weird, and that's a whole other situation. But then you also, and I know, well, I guess
stop it with the fried chicken emoji.
I guess just also being like being heterosexual, you have to be careful for people who want you just so they can have mixed babies.
Oh, that too, yeah.
You know, like, ooh, mixed babies are the prettiest. Mixed babies have the best hair. Mixed babies this, mixed babies that. But
I thought my baby would have pretty light eyes like me.
God, oh, don't get me started on Bianca. Oh, she's so aggravating.
Yeah.
I thought my baby would have pretty eyes. Okay, please wipe the placenta juice off of her face first.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't know. I don't like it that people are perpetuating sort of these fetishization type things and like excusing that behavior because it's harmful in many ways. So one of the ways that it's harmful is it feeds into people still seeing us as objects, as Black, especially women, Black women, being seen as just sort of objects and, you know, just like something to have, sort of.
Right.
It feeds into that, and it makes people see us as less than. It just feeds into all these racist things. And it makes people only sexualize like you, in a sense.
Right. Like, oh, I only like to have sex with Black girls, or I only like to have sex with Black men. And it's like, okay, but like we're a little bit more than that. I saw this post on Facebook, and it was a Black guy who had a biracial baby with a white woman. And so the baby, or I mean, she was a toddler, whatever. She got her hair done in like, you know, braids and have beads at the end of it. Okay, I mean, she's a little Black girl. Maybe her, you know, her hair isn't straight. Her hair's a little more coarse. So he got her hair done in like a protective style.
Right.
The mom, the white mom, flipped out and was like, don't you dare have my daughter wearing her hair like a Black girl and blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, she's Black. So stop trying to assume that you can treat her hair the same way you treat her hair.
Yeah, and can we take a second to discuss like these Black people who are, or Black men mostly. Let me specify, Black men who are dating white women specifically because they see them as some sort of prize or whatever, and then they have these mixed babies, and then the white woman is like a racist person because they don't like Black people, they just like Black dick, right?
Right.
So now they have a child with this person, and then the child is being treated like racist, like their parent is racist against the child.
Right.
And anti-Black.
Yes.
I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
I hate it so much. And you see it so often, like these, and I mean, I guess it works on both ends because you have Black women who are dating white men and having babies with white men who are just like, oh, I can't wait to have my light-skinned baby with pretty hair. And it's like, they're probably gonna have hair like you. Like,
and it's so weird because then what happens when they don't have the light skin or the pretty hair?
Right.
You're not gonna like your child?
Right.
And they don't. They end up not liking their children because of that. I've seen multiple videos of like on TikTok. There was this TikTok, I vividly remember it, with this white mom who was talking about her daughter's hair or something, and something about chocolate, and she's pulling up her kids, and she's like, a white kid, a white kid, a white kid, and then a black kid.
No, it was they say once you go black, you never go back. So it was
It
was like two white kids and then a black kid and then
another white kid.
Another white kid. And they're like, you lied. They say once you go black, you never go back. Well, I went back, and it's like, okay, well, you probably were with the wrong black guy for the wrong reason.
Right. And it's like the fact that she's just using her child as like a prop.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, I have a little black girl, whatever. This is a joke, whatever. Bye.
Right.
That's the vibe I'm getting. And then you have the moms who don't know how to take care of their children's hair and don't know how to like help their children navigate being black in our white supremacist society.
They want to try to shelter them and pretend as if racism does not exist. The hair thing literally irks my nerves. Nothing bothers me more. And now, granted, you do have trash black moms who refuse to do their daughter's hair, but then they've got like a 38-inch silky, their hair can be done, but they don't want to bother with their child's hair. That's a whole different situation. But nothing bothers me more than seeing a white mother have a black child, whether it is her biological child or she adopted that child, and they refuse to do their hair or get their hair done or
even learn how to do it.
How to do their hair. I every time this conversation comes up, I have a friend, her name is Raina. Raina is white, like whiter than paper. Like Raina is white. And she adopted her niece and nephew. Her niece is half black, but her hair is very coarse. You can't just, run conditioner through it and, okay, my curls. You can't do that with her hair. My friend has learned how to braid this baby's hair. She has learned, they have a wash day. They have a wash regimen. She puts this baby's hair in protective styles. She's like, I think 7, but my friend is learning because she's like, I'm not going to let my niece walk out there looking any kind of way.
Right.
And it's like, all you have to do is just take time to learn. The
thing is they feel like they don't have to. Like, you can literally like mention it or bring it up. I've seen people where they post videos of their daughter's hair or whatever, and then someone will comment like, oh, maybe you should take her to a black stylist, or maybe you should do this or that. Well, don't tell me what to do. I can do whatever I want, and I don't care enough to.
Right. And that's it. Yeah, Dion, YouTube has tutorials all over. And I'm not even mad at the white women who are like, hey, for any of you white moms that have black kids, I'm going to teach you how to do their hair. I'm not even mad at that because who else is going to teach? Who else is going to tell them? They're not going to listen to a black parent. They're not going to listen to a black person go, hey, white mom, do your child's hair. They're going to listen to another white person. But if that means that another black, young black girl is learning to appreciate their hair, then I'm okay with it.
Exactly. What was I watching? I think I was watching like this old episode of the Tyra Banks show where they had this mom who was perming her daughter's hair at like 5 years old, I think, because she didn't know how to deal with her hair or whatever. I think it was a white mom. I don't know if she was 5 or 7. She was a really young child. And, oh, I perm my hair so I can look pretty. That's basically what she was telling the daughter. And the daughter was saying that and doing all that. And I was just like, this is what is being perpetuated.
Yeah. But think about it. Growing up, again, we were talking about, you have to unlearn, white culture and what is deemed, beautiful and whatever. I used to think straight hair was pretty because that's all you ever saw on TV. And then if you're watching a black show and they talk about hair, if the hair was anything but straight, or if it was, more than a 3C curl, then it was nappy and unkempt, and that
character was sort of like the joke character or the ugly friend.
The ugly character, and And so, yeah, I grew up thinking that too. But nowadays it's like, okay, now we have so many people who are rocking their natural hair and, doing this. And I think that's why, like, I went so far as to just like cutting my hair to prove that I'm not my hair, And I mean, I haven't had a relaxer in I haven't had a relaxer since 2011. And I'll never go back to that. I will never go back to that. But it's because what we were taught, and you had to unlearn that. You have to unlearn that straight hair is beautiful,
Or more beautiful than what you have.
Correct. So, because people that's all they knew. That's all they knew. And growing up, I mean, what princesses did we have? I mean, first of all, we didn't get Princess Tiana till when?
You mean the frog?
Right. So
I feel like we still don't have a black princess.
You're right, because
Tiana, yes, she's great when she's a human, and as a character, she's kind of cool. But it's like, it's not fair. We don't get characters that are black throughout the whole movie,
right?
And it's literally, I feel, because they don't want to see. They think white people aren't going to want to see black people on screen the whole time,
which is weird. But so say white people don't want to, black people do.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see it. Like, do you remember the Cinderella movie with Brandy? And it was who was it? It was Whitney, because Whitney Houston was a fairy godmother, right? And it was Whoopi was the mom. Like, wasn't the dad white and then the son was Asian? Mm-hmm. And nobody said anything about it. It was just a movie.
Exactly.
It was just a fairy tale movie, and nobody was like, well, how did that black woman and that white man have an Asian baby? And why is this Asian man with this black? Like, it wasn't an issue.
Right.
It was not an issue. But whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, so Special K, these white mothers are too lazy to learn how to do their kids' hair. They sure are. And even like white people that have wavy hair or curly hair, they don't even like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, blow dry my hair every single day. Make my hair straight.
Gotta run the flat iron, the straightener over it.
Yeah. I don't know. But back to the whole like fetishing thing, fetishization. I'll get it right one day. It's not even just. I mean, it's being sexualized at a young age too, like what you're talking about. I mean, I can, remember just being like a young kid and just, having grown men just stare at you any kind of way because you decided that you wanted to, wear a crop top, or, I shouldn't have to be a certain age to wear like a bikini. Like, I've seen little 3-year-olds run around wearing a bikini. If that's the kind of bathing suit they want to wear, then let them wear it. But I just remember the topic of like, oh no, you can't wear it at the age of 10 because, you're starting to fill out, or, you're starting to get breasts and hips and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but what does that have to do with me?
Right.
And it's like, no, it's everybody else around you. Okay, we'll deal with everybody else. Don't like, how come I am not allowed to just be comfortable in my body?
Exactly. And that is something that's perpetuated a lot as well. I feel like for women in general, where it's almost like people blame them for being sexualized by men or other people.
Right.
And it's not women's fault that they're sexualized. It doesn't matter what they're wearing or how they look. It's not their fault. And I don't know why people want to just blame the woman and not the dicks for sexualizing the woman. Like,
right. So,
and it's always blaming, oh, you shouldn't wear that because of this, and someone's going to look at you this way. Well, they shouldn't look at me that way.
That's their fault. That's their fault for looking at me like this. I mean, first of all, Black women in general are usually curvier. So no matter what they wear, it's going to look more sexual or more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like revealing. It's going to look more revealing. But why is that my fault? Like, I had a friend in high school and she was very like blessed and she would get dress coded every single day because of what she was wearing. And it's like, why does she have to worry about what she's wearing? Like, I never understood the whole, don't wear tank tops. Like, girls, don't wear tank tops to school. Why not? It's hot.
It's distracting for the boy. Well, they are dumb, so let them be distracted. I'll get my education, make them leave me alone, and we'll be good, right? Like that should be the case.
Right. I didn't know my shoulders were so sexy, but I mean, I guess.
Right. Ridiculous. Speaking of school and getting dress coded, that was at my school. That was the case all the time. All the black girls would get dress coded for literally like the smallest, like not even wearing anything terrible. Not or terrible. I say terrible, right. But you know, not even wearing anything revealing, anything like that. They would just get dress coded and they would get sent to the front office, basically being humiliated. They had to wear these oversized big shirts, right. But then the white girls wouldn't get dress coded at the same rate as the black girls.
Yep. One, because they didn't have a figure like them, but why does that matter? Why does that matter? It shouldn't matter at all. And like you said, it's probably because black women are looked at as objects where, you know, a white person, a little white girl could be wearing the same thing.
And they see a little white girl, but when they see a little black girl, it's not a little black girl. It's a woman and she's sexy and this.
Yep. That's just, like, I hate those conversations where you see a little black girl wearing, you know, like leggings and like her hair's cute and pulled up in like a little bun. And she's got a little crop top with like, you know, those little fuzzy sandals. Is this too grown for a 3-year-old? I don't know. Put it on McKinley and see if you get asked the same thing. Why are we asking, is this too grown? Little white girls don't ever get asked that. Is this too grown for this little white girl? I've never heard that.
I haven't either.
I've never heard that. But it's always little black girls. Oh, well, she shouldn't be wearing that because then boys are going to look at her. They might get the wrong idea. What idea? What idea?
Right. Alyssa says the boys were allowed to wear tank tops, but the girls couldn't at her school. And that's ridiculous. And I feel like that I saw a post on Twitter about this the other day, and I was upset about it because basically this lady was saying, women, you need to cover your nipples and you need to not show your body because you're ruining marriages and you're ruining, like, you're making people stumble with your body or some dumb, ridiculous thing like that. And then her justification was because Jesus wants us to.
Oh, goodbye.
Jesus wants us to not tempt men or something like that. And I'm just like, don't you see how you're perpetuating this misogynistic sort of ideal? And it's not women's fault. And I don't think it's fair that women have to cover their nipples because they're inherently seen as sexual.
Right.
Like, in general, like, it's ridiculous. Like, even in art, like, if you're taking like an art class or something, from what I've been learning about like drawing and stuff, like, you're not allowed to show like female nipples online, but male nipples can be shown.
And the craziest thing, FYI, go follow Xzavier on Twitch.
Oh, thank you.
The thing is, like when it comes to nipples, literally, like, the only thing that women's nipples are used for is to feed babies. That's it. I mean, men's nipples, women's nipples, there's literally no difference. The only difference is, like, I have a little bit of fat attached to mine, but like get the right guy and he probably has the same amount of fat attached to his nipple as well. So I don't understand why my boobs are any different than those boobs.
Right. And that's the thing is, like, they're not. I mean, and people will say, well, female nipples make milk or whatever. There are some men who are able to lactate as well.
Yep.
And it's a thing. But it's ridiculous. Why is it inherently sexual?
Lactate. Not all women lactate.
That too, yeah. And why is it that, like, literally women are just like sexualized for their breasts in general? Like, why is that a thing? Men are ridiculous. I really don't like that we live in this like misogynistic white supremacist society.
And you know what else I've noticed? And I've noticed this for a while, but in TV shows, and this is just like a misogynistic thing, every TV show, the wife is always beautiful. I mean, gorgeous. I mean, and I'm talking from reality shows to cartoons. The wife is always beautiful. The husband is always a big fat slob.
Yeah.
And then it gives men, you know, like hope, like, ooh, I can get a woman like that.
Yeah, I deserve a woman like that.
Yeah, I deserve a woman like that. And it's like, no, you don't. And that's just a part of the misogynistic world that we live in. I mean, look at Family Guy. Like Lois and Peter Griffin. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I feel like it's propaganda.
Yeah.
It's misogynistic propaganda to get women to sort of settle for the ugly, disrespectful man or the dumb guy. Just like it's ridiculous.
Right. And the women have to keep their appearance, and they have to keep their, you know, like, oh, a woman can't, don't get fat. As a woman, don't get fat. The man can gain as much weight as he wants to, but women can't get fat.
That's such a huge double standard. I feel like in our society, like women's value hinges on their beauty in our society.
Yeah.
And like their youth. And I really don't like that. And men can be old and still be considered like, oh, successful and like they're revered for their
Hugh Hefner.
Right.
I mean, up until he died, right? Up until he died, having sex with 17, 18-year-old women. That's disgusting.
Mm-hmm. But he's the man, right? Like,
listen,
I hate it.
I hate it too. Listen, I'm about to be the woman Hugh Hefner, and I'm gonna get a whole bunch of little boys. Like God. Yeah. Men get called silver foxes, women get called hags. No, screw that. We're gonna reclaim that cougar, because we're gonna be cougars.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so stupid. It's so stupid, and it's all in TV. You know, the racism is in TV, misogyny is in TV. It's everywhere you look. It's literally everywhere you look, you know, and then you kind of
all propaganda. Like literally our media like shapes our society.
Oh, absolutely.
And really, like I was watching Amanda's video the other day, I think, and she was basically talking about something similar about how media shapes our society and like this, and like how influencers have influence and how they are sort of shaping our society. So that's why are you going to these parties with COVID and whatever? But she mentioned this part that like stuck with me, where she was like, Wizards of Waverly Place had like little kids running around with sticks and pencils in their boots, trying to be like Alex Russo with like a wand. And I'm like, yes, that's literally what media does.
Yeah.
And like the images that we're seeing and the sort of stories we see, it shapes the narrative of society. So if we see Black people on screen and they're always, oh, they're fat and ugly and the butt of every joke, and they're not successful and they're poor, this and that, that's negative representation, which reinforces the notion that we are these animalistic or ridiculous gangbanging thugs or whatever they see us as.
Right.
But then you have the white protagonist who's over here and they're just so like blonde and successful and pale and, oh, I'm beautiful and fair skinned and this and that. And they're just like successful. You see them as successful. So that sort of shapes your mentality. Like, I wish I looked like that.
Right. So let me see. So Margaret says, even gay men are discriminated against when they have feminine characteristics that are associated with their gender. And okay, do you remember, well, I don't know, but do you ever remember growing up, and probably not you, but I remember me thinking this, and it's because, you know, homophobia, because, you know, it's ingrained in our system. And I remember like when gay marriages started to become a thing, and people would be like, oh, well, then who's the girl in the relationship?
Oh, yeah.
There is no girl. Like, what do you mean? There is no girl. It's two men in a relationship. And then it becomes like, oh, well, like, does that mean that, like, who's going to do the cooking? Why not both? Or does that mean like only women cook? Or, you know, who's going to clean? Why not both?
Exactly. It's ridiculous. And why does our society sort of perpetuate that like misogynistic mentality? I hate it. It shouldn't be perpetuated, period. like even with women, like, oh, why aren't you in the kitchen making me a sandwich, or why aren't you cleaning it? Like women can't work, why they can't hold jobs. And I feel like sort of religion has to do with a lot of that as well, because it's perpetuated in like the Bible or whatever.
Yeah.
People use that to back up these sort of misogynistic ideals.
Mhm.
But it's ridiculous. Like, what is it about being human, like just being in a relationship, like one person specifically has to do this role in the household or in the relationship?
Right.
Yeah. I don't
don't
like that. And
no.
definitely with Margaret Lely, I agree that like feminine tendencies are like they're seen as less than, and they're seen as like weak or whatever is the case, and like
Mhm.
not worthy of whatever. I don't know, but I don't like that either.
Yeah. Me neither. And Alyssa, I hate the fact that everything is gendered. I hate that so much. And this is probably a very unpopular, opinion, but I think that's why some kids are just confused, because you tell them only girls like ballet, and they go, well, then does that make me a girl? Like, I know I'm a boy, but so you're telling me that only girls like ballet, so does that make me a girl? Or they say things like, oh, only gay boys like ballet. Or, like they just put so much gender and sexuality on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Literally everything.
Oh, you can't play with Barbies if you're a boy, only monster trucks or whatever. Oh, you can't want the pink jacket, you have to have the blue one if you're a boy or whatever.
Right. And it's like, but why? And me, okay, so I literally could care less what Miles plays with, whatever. He's asked me, like, I'm doing my makeup, and he's like, mommy, can I wear makeup? And I go, no. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because you're too young. Like, you're 9. No, you can't wear makeup. Now come talk to me in a couple years, and then we'll talk about it. Then we'll discuss it.
Right.
But I'm never going to tell him no because you're a boy.
Right.
No.
Yeah,
if I do the same thing.
Exactly. It's really weird. And then I don't know. I feel like I have this controversial. I feel like we should not do gender reveal parties. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think it's really weird that we celebrate the genitalia of children before they're even born. I don't know. It's just weird to me.
It is.
And then the gendering of just literally everything is so annoying. Like, oh, you have to have the blue razor and not the pink one because it's a feminine razor.
Right.
Because it's pink, it shaves your womanly legs better than the blue one.
Listen, I wear men's deodorant because it works better. I use well, I don't really shave because I don't have a lot of hair, but when I and that's the other thing. Like, I used to shave my legs. I literally have no hair on my legs. And I used to shave my legs because I thought that's what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I remember being in high school, like, oh my God, feel my legs are so smooth. But like, literally, like, I have, like, my hairs are like, and they don't grow. So I'd be shaving literally just to have smooth skin. Like,
right. And that's the thing too. We should stop forcing women to feel like they need to shave in general.
Right. So there's that. I just shaved my underarms for the first time probably in about 4 or 5 months the other day, but it was because like deodorant was getting stuck in there.
Yeah, I have that issue too.
But whatever, that's a whole different situation. But I forgot where I was going with that. But when I would shave, I would use men's razors because they work better. Like, I'm not shaving to be like, ooh, I'm trying to be feminine. No, like, I'm shaving to get rid of the hair. I don't care how it's getting rid of it, but like, let's get rid of it.
It's so weird. Oh, everything is like that though. Whether it be razors or like clothing is really gendered, or like, I don't know. Literally, oh, you want this feminine pink sticky pad and it'll have like, it'll make be generically geared towards women, like office supplies or like everything.
Literally everything. Do you remember Lisa Frank, like the binders, like that have like the unicorns and the but then the boys would get trapper keepers. Like
The monster trucks. Monster trucks are annoying as hell. Like I always thought monster trucks were stupid. Like in my opinion, that's just my opinion though. Yeah. And I was always into Barbies.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Like I just whatever. Like,
yeah,
gender is weird, and sexuality is weird, and how people just place so much, you know, on what kids can and can't do, or what
like the binary aspect of it. Like, you have to do one specifically.
Yep. And then okay, so I hate when, you know, people try to say, oh, like there's only two genders. And it's like, okay, but what about intersex? Because intersexuality is literally a thing where your internal doesn't match your external.
Yeah. Or you have parts, genitalia, that don't match up, or that they had to make a decision for you at birth or whatever.
I hate that. Oh my gosh. I cannot stand that. In reality, I don't know why dinosaurs are considered a boy thing. That's like saying dogs are considered a boy thing. Like
that is the thing. Dogs are considered a boy thing. Cats are considered a girl. Yeah.
Lord. They're animals. Jesus.
Exactly.
Christ. Okay, so like what's a turtle? Is that a boy animal or a girl animal? Like, geez. But because I've watched like a lot of just documentaries, because like I'm curious about certain things, and a lot of intersex people, you know, they were chosen, they had to make a decision at birth, and it's like, why do you have to make a decision? And they're like, well, we don't know if this is a penis or if it's an enlarged clitoris. We don't know what it is. And sometimes they end up making the wrong decision, and they cut off the boy's penis or the person's penis.
Right.
Just let it be. You know, like, is it a boy or a girl? Well, actually, they're intersex. Like, why is that so hard to say?
I don't know. I really don't get it. And people think that there's a binary, you have to be a boy or a girl, and it's like I feel like gender, sexuality, everything is on like a spectrum. We're humans, we're complex beings. We're not one thing. Everything's a spectrum, everything's sort of fluid. So, and that makes me so upset that they make that decision at birth, because then this child grows up not knowing what's wrong with them, because they feel different than how the decision that was made or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, if the child is intersex, why can't we let them like grow up and sort of make that decision later on in life, if whatever they choose?
And if
as long as they
want to be male or female, then let them choose. Or if they want to be intersex, let them choose.
Exactly. And it's like, as long as they're not being harmed by, you know, having whatever they have genitalia wise or whatever, as long as it's not going to be harmful for them, it should just be left alone.
Yeah, I agree. Just literally just leave it alone. And I think the reason why parents are forced, or parents choose to make the decision, is so they don't have to explain it. It's for their comfortability.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's all it is. It's for the parents' comfortability, it's not for the kid. Nothing. It's just, okay, well, our child was born intersex, so blah, blah, blah. But you don't have a problem by saying, and not to compare the two, but you don't have a problem saying, or, you know, being forced to say, you know, oh, my kid was born with Down syndrome or something like that, you know, something that you can outwardly see. But because it's their genitalia, like, it's like, I don't know, like make genitalia normal, you know, like stop with like the calling it a hoo-ha and a tink and a like, call it what it is. Like,
it's, yeah, I think that's really weird as well. Like infantilizing, in a sense, genitalia or whatever, like, just be direct. It's a penis, a vagina, like, it's not that hard. And then you have like children or whatever and then they grow up literally like not being educated on like sex education or how to protect themselves as children or how to go to an adult when they're being abused or how to,
Yep.
like, you know, I feel like that's a big thing that's going on as well that we need to sort of address.
Yes, absolutely. Like, like this is my elbow. These are my breasts, you know, and like my son, he, I mean, from the beginning, like he knows that is his penis. And even, like, I don't know, he was maybe like 2 or 3. And, you know, when you have a kid, you have no privacy. And I'm going to the bathroom and he's looking, he goes, Mom, where's your penis? And I was like, oh, I don't have one. I have a vagina. And he goes, okay. Like that was the end of it. That
Yeah,
like,
and then also I feel like coding genitalia with these words sort of makes it like shameful to talk about, or makes it like weird and awkward to talk about. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah, it does. And that's the problem. It's so awkward because then kids think that they can't talk to you about it because it's a naughty word or, you know, a no word or something like that. So yeah. I mean, when you have kids, like you just have to be upfront with them. And I think the younger you start, the better it is, you know? But
because I mean, people treat children like they're dumb or something.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I promise you, children are kind of smart. I mean, their brains are actually like, as a young person, your brain is developing a lot quicker and it slowly starts to stop and slow down as you get older. So the more knowledge and information you introduce them at a young age, the better chance it has of sticking as a child. So if we're building a good foundation for children very young, for them to be able to come to you as a parent and not feel like ashamed or weirded out or just to be able to talk to you or whatever, if we're building a good foundation, then that's going to build into a good life. Like
a good adult, a good teenager, you know, a good person of society. Yes, Audra, coding genitals makes it so much easier for predators.
Yes.
And that's like, and I don't know how true this story is, and I'm sure it has happened, but there's like a story in it, you know, this girl told her teacher like, oh, my uncle touched my cookie or something, you know, or my uncle last night told me he wanted to eat my cookie or something like that. But I think I want to say the word was like cookie or something like that. And I mean, every day this little girl would tell her teacher until finally it can't, you know, maybe she said something to the parents and they're like, oh, cookie is what we call her vagina. And it's like,
yeah.
No, I mean, even now, like my son is 9 and even like randomly, I'm like, Miles, who's allowed to see your penis? Nobody. Okay. Like we, just as long as he knows. And who are you going to tell if somebody touches you? Okay, great. Glad we've had this conversation.
Exactly. And that's important. I feel like a lot of parents, from what I've seen, don't want to have these discussions with their children because they think they won't get it or it's going to be awkward or whatever. I feel like if whenever I have children, I choose to have a child, I'm going to have these discussions with them at a young age because I want them to be able to have these discussions with me. Like if something's happening to them, or I want them to know that, you know, privacy is a thing. Like don't let people see you there. Don't let anybody touch you, make you uncomfortable. Like if you're not having these discussions with your children, that's sort of like Audra said, it entices predators to be able to groom your children and harm them.
Right. Like I don't want my son to learn about sex from anybody else but me. You know? And then and I don't even know if they're still teaching it in school, but he won't, you know, like his friends won't tell him things that just don't, you know, just don't exist or make sense. I remember watching a show, like I didn't know I was pregnant or like Life in the ER or something like that. And it was a 14-year-old girl and she was pregnant. And and she, you know, the doctor had asked, like, is there any way that you could be pregnant? And she was like, no, like, there's no way I could be pregnant. And so finally they, you know, the ultrasound came back, whatever, homegirl was pregnant. And she was like, but we did it standing up. There's no way I could have gotten pregnant that way.
Yeah.
She was 14. She was like 14, 15 years old. Well, I didn't know you could get.
And that's the thing too. Sexual education, I say education loosely because they're not teaching sexual education, I feel like. They're teaching, oh, don't have sex. It's abstinence. That's what they're teaching in schools.
Yeah.
That's not going to help at all because teenagers are going to have sex. I mean, it's sort of inevitable.
Yeah.
And if you tell them just not to do it, it's not going to help them in any way. Versus if you tell them, okay, this is how to properly do it. If you make that decision, this is the consequence that you might have if you make that decision.
Right.
I recommend I recommend waiting until you're older, whatever. But I mean, I know you're interested in it, but this is how to do it properly and safely and how to protect yourself.
Yeah.
That's not what they're teaching. They're teaching don't do it because it's bad.
Right. Yep. And then they only teach, and here comes the misogynistic part. They only teach about like how it's pleasurable for men.
Exactly.
That's all they teach.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like if we even have a discussion of how it would be pleasurable for women, it would be considered like disgusting.
Right.
They wouldn't. It's something that they wouldn't even think about touching or like considering discussing.
Right. Yep. But that's the world we live in.
It really shouldn't be.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it's just like how do we change or fix all of these things? So
Emily says, as someone who grew up in the South and didn't have thorough sex ed and basically had a huge population of teen moms in your high school, sex ed is necessary. I agree. It is very necessary. I had a lot of teen moms at my high school as well.
Audra said, sex education is not taught in public schools because it keeps poor people poor, and most certainly being taught in rich prep schools. Yep. Because, so I'm a little older. We had, as far as I know, we only had one pregnant teenager in our school. Sex ed was being taught, kind of, like you said, but I mean, they didn't teach abstinence. They were teaching us, like about condoms and blah, blah, but it was just very basic, very, very basic. But I only remember just one girl who was pregnant in high school.
Mm.
So
I would agree with Audra saying it definitely does sort of keep poor people poor, and it perpetuates that cycle of like the teen mom in the neighborhood, and then there are no programs to help, and then they want to defund like abortion clinics and not give proper education about abortions and how that's beneficial for women and for them to have that choice. I think it's all overall just a big misogynistic type of deal that it needs to be addressed, and we need to fix these things.
Yeah. And I hate when people say, women shouldn't have abortions, but these guys are out here like having sex recklessly, and if they ever got a girl pregnant, they want nothing to do with the kid or blah, blah, blah.
It's always the woman's fault.
Right. It's always the woman's fault. But I remember this story. I think I read it on Reddit. And this guy was like, my son's mom is a deadbeat mom. And he explained that she got pregnant. She did not want to have the baby. He begged her to have the baby. And she goes, okay, well, I'm just going to let you know. Once I have this baby, I want nothing to do with this baby. You are going to raise the baby. I will pay child support. Okay. So that's exactly what she did. She didn't hold the baby. She did, like literally just like, boop, handed over to the dad, signed her rights away or something, but she pays child support. And everybody, and the dad, the guy was like, I need help. I'm a single dad, blah, blah, blah. Well, she told you she wanted nothing to do with this baby. Mm-hmm. So why are you? And she pays child support every month. So how is she a deadbeat mom?
I feel like we should normalize that. Like, if women don't want to keep the baby, why are we forcing them to keep the baby? Like,
you know what? You're right. I told you I did not want this baby. If you want the baby, I'm going to have the baby, and you are going to be the single dad. I told you I did not want this baby.
And see, most people would probably hear that story and villainize the mother.
Of course.
Of the child. I don't see her that way. I see her as she literally had made the decision she didn't want the child. The dad is the one who wanted to keep the child, and he made that commitment to the child. So, like, why is it a big, like, that's ridiculous.
Right. After she sacrificed 9 months of her time, you know?
Right. And the risk of getting harmed with the pregnancy and labor, like everything. Oh my gosh, like the stuff that I see on Twitter recently, people have been having discussions about pregnancy. And what women go through being pregnant, I would not want to go through myself. Like, at all. And and then the risks associated with it, and the changes to your body, and the lasting effects that it can have, like harmful effects on you at your like psychologically, your body in general. I'm just like,
oh yeah.
But we want to force women to be pregnant.
Right. I saw this thing on TikTok, and it was like this girl, and she was saying that she thinks that all men should have their what is it called?
A vasectomy.
Because it's reversible, and they get it undone when they decide they want kids or they get married or whatever. And because if you think about it, a woman can only get pregnant once in a 9-month span. A man can have sex with a different girl every single day for 9 months and be responsible for 200 and some odd pregnancies, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't like that birth control is always geared towards women. Everything is always geared towards women. Like, it really would make more sense to gear birth control towards men because of what you're saying, how they can get multiple people pregnant and like in a day.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me to be, to make sure that the guy is not out here boom, boom, boom. And then I think, what else did she say? She said something like, well, what if it's irreversible and I can't have kids or something like that? And it's like, okay, but pregnancy is also irreversible,
Exactly.
like once you're pregnant.
The thing too is like the complications that you would face as a man having to go through this birth control. Those sort of things are normalized for women when they have to get their birth control, like, the arm thing. I really don't know much about birth control. I'm sorry. But I know isn't it like an IUD or something?
The IUD in your uterus. I have this.
Oh, okay.
So I have, yeah.
Aren't there risks of something going wrong with that?
Oh, absolutely. There's risks for every single birth control. The pill, the shot, everything. There's literally side effects from every single birth control, but there are also there's also good things for women that have issues that birth control helps.
Okay. And see, the thing too is like with men, it's like normalized for us to just like allow women to go through that. It's like just okay, like just go through the pain because we're normalizing birth control for women.
Yeah. Yep.
And then any sort of mention of birth control for men would like set people off.
Oh, absolutely. It's the women. Only the women. The women are the only ones that, I don't know. And that just doesn't make any sense. Like, why is it? I mean, the only responsibility that a boy has is to like use a condom. That's it.
Right.
That's it. And even sometimes boys will get mad and be like, oh, you don't have a condom? I don't have a penis. I'm sorry. So, Kat, she says, I love my IUD. I hated my IUD. I had cramps that literally felt like contractions. I like this. I didn't bleed for like the first 3 years that I had it, but now I have a regular period again, but whatever. Yeah, birth control, like just imagine if boys had to take birth control and it made them gain weight, or it, affected their sex drive, or, it gave them penis cancer. I don't know. Like, these are the things that we have to deal with.
Right. But it's normal because you're a woman, right?
Yep.
I hate that. I really do. Men are actually men are so weak.
I'm telling you, if men had to give birth, if men were the carriers of babies, we would not be overpopulated. I can tell you that much right now. We would not be overpopulated. We would be so underpopulated.
Mm-hmm.
But men are reckless and they don't care. Straight men, like, why do I like straight men? I ask myself that every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, Alyssa, I have to change my birth control to try and help my acne. Exactly. So, what else is in the teach us a beach?
Boys wouldn't be able to remember taking the pill every day. Like, how incapable do you think you are? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Taking the pill every day at the same time. So stupid.
But then we're forcing, like, I really hate how all of these systems are forcing women to, like, be pregnant. Like, you are not teaching sex education correctly. You're not teaching how to prevent pregnancies, prevent STDs, prevent things like that. And you're pushing for us not to be able to teach that.
Right.
Then we're doing sort of, oh, well, birth control is just as bad as getting an abortion, and you can't get an abortion. And we're making laws like making women not be able to get abortions.
Right. And then they say, well, if you don't want to get pregnant, don't have sex. Okay, so then who are the guys going to have sex with? Who are the straight men, going to have sex with?
Right.
So, like, there's just so many flaws, and people will argue this literally to death. And you're just like, I don't know. Men just should not have a say in anything to do with women's bodies.
I would say in anything in general. I mean, I don't know. I've been conceptualizing like sort of these stories because I wanted to write something. And I was thinking of a story where it's like a society that was, instead of being ran by men, it was originally ran by women, and how it would be like this futuristic society in a shorter span of time. Because I feel like if women were running our society, like, we would advance so quickly.
I mean, honestly, look how far we've gone with men running our society. Like, just look. Like, yes, Alyssa. No, uterus, no opinion. Wait, I have my friend's socks on right now. I don't know if you can see them. Central Perk.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah. Yeah. I just don't. I mean, look at where we are now. Look at where we are. Like, society, like, we're screwed. We're screwed.
I agree, and it's because of men.
Like, I hate when, or actually I don't hate, I love when people go, oh, women can never be a woman can never be in charge. A woman can never run the country. She's too emotional. She'd probably start a war in a split second. Oh, well, who started all the other wars?
Right. We've only had men in positions of power like that forever. So,
yeah. Audra said, if you don't want to get pregnant, don't have sex, but then boys will be boys. Right. So exactly. Which is it?
It's not. It's such a, what's the word? Oh, I can't think right now, but it's ridiculous. It's double standard. That's the word.
Yeah. Yep. It's like, I mean, pick your poison, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know. So, New Zealand. I don't know much about what's going on in New Zealand, but
yeah, I don't really know anything about New Zealand. I like their accents that they have. They're like the Kiwi accent. Like, it's really adorable. I really like that accent.
But I'm assuming that it's a hell of a lot better than what's going on in the good old United States of America.
And you know what's really annoying is that our country is so self-absorbed and like so like, oh, we're the best country in the world or whatever. I feel like a lot of other countries are way better than Canada is an example. Like,
I told Dion I'm moving in with her, so
I know Dion's always slight dragging us on Twitter when she brings up, oh, wait, my healthcare system, and oh, I'm going to this and that, and I'm like, we don't have that.
Yeah. Kat, I believe that cis women / trans men have larger frontal lobes for decision making. I believe that. Okay, so the prime minister, so she's a woman and she gave birth to a child this year. See, listen, and she's still running the country.
Wow.
Only women. Only women.
Don't be sorry. Canada's, I would say it's way better than America.
Yeah. Rona being handled successfully in places where women are in power.
Right.
I believe it. But we're out here still stuck in quarantine, reopening things that shouldn't be reopened, pretending
having no money because they gave us a $1,200 check like 3 months ago.
Yeah. Once. And we're supposed to live off of that. How?
My check's been gone.
I was going to say, like, do you still have your check? Because I know I don't.
Yeah. And then too, like these essential jobs, they want us to work like at like fast food places are open. I don't know. We're supposed to work these jobs and risk bringing a virus home to our families and risk dying.
Yep.
And being paid minimum wage still.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And then they're blaming us, the people who don't have money, for like didn't they cut the funding? What is it called? The workers unemployment. There you go. I never got that, by the way. I never applied for it. I should have, but they cut that recently.
You probably still can. You'll get all your back pay.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I have to try it then, because I didn't know. But maybe I may be coming into a little bit of money for food soon. So
yeah, well, because because I had to quit my job because I am high risk.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I didn't have to. I chose to, but I'm high risk.
Yeah. So. And the people I live with are as well, like immunocompromised, and like if I were to bring this virus home, death.
Right. And then my parents are older. I mean, they're not super old. Like my mom is 64. Yeah, my dad's 59. So they're not like super old, but they're older. So I don't know. People are.
It's horrible looking at you guys in America. I wish I could ship most of you over.
I know.
I would say not most, because it seems like most are okay with this. Like the non-mask wearing people, the people who are upset that we have to wear masks are protesting wearing masks. I feel like I don't want to risk Australia or risk anywhere else because, right. Maybe I'm just nice.
I don't know. All I know is that, like, I don't know, some places are doing it right, but if everybody oh gosh, I just don't understand how a virus is considered political. I really don't get it. I don't know how a virus is considered political. I don't know how Black Lives Matter is considered political. Like, all this is just human rights.
Right.
I feel like the same people who are protesting wearing masks are probably the same people who would have protested wearing seatbelts in cars. Or when, do you remember back in the day when there was like smoking and non-smoking sections, and then they just changed it to just you can't smoke indoors?
Right.
I feel like those are the same people that would protest a mask. Like, oh, I can't.
Very far right, or like
you're taking away my civil rights.
Like libertarian-ish type like ideals. Like I should be able to poison the ground with my toxic waste because money.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's what regulations are for. So you don't kill everyone.
Only two current cases in her state, and they're both in quarantine, as they should. Well, we have 1 trillion people that have COVID. Okay.
In Arizona, our cases keep rising. I think I looked at it today, and like 2,225 new cases today.
Jesus Christ. Assuming Americans would actually care about other Americans, that was our first mistake. And that is nothing but the truth. That's literally nothing but the truth.
I feel like America, like our ideals are centered around being like selfish. Be like, how can I make the most money, and how can I don't care about anyone else. It's about me. And it's very like, it feeds into the capitalistic mindset as well. But I feel like that's sort of like the American dream.
Yeah, and then being able to like show it off on social media.
Right.
Which is weird. Like, I'm gonna flex on social media. Like for who? For what?
Oh my gosh, Emily says I'm infringing on her rights. Well, I mean, we just don't want to poison the groundwater that we drink.
Yeah, yes, beyond individualistic society. Listen, there's too many syllables in that word for me. Individualistic society. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. And then we have the nastiest president.
The worst. Oh gosh. I really don't like that he has so much support. And I don't like that so many people support him. He's ridiculous. He's so dumb. Like it seems like he doesn't know what he's talking about like 95% of the time. And he just lies. He makes shit up all day.
Yes, all the time. And I really don't like the fact that he's not, and of course he never will be, but he's not taking any kind of like the fact that Herman man died, Herman Cain.
Oh yeah.
He's not taking any responsibility for it. Even though we know where he got COVID from. He got it from being at that rally.
Mm-hmm.
He got it from being at the rally, and it was a hoax. Like I don't know it. And everybody is just like, oh, he had cancer. Yeah.
It was exacerbated by COVID. Like it made it worse. That's the thing. Like
it wasn't even that. He was in remission since like 2006.
Oh, I didn't even know that part about it. Really?
Yeah. Yes. He was in remission, like full remission. And okay, so let's say he wasn't. The thing is it was, let's say he died because of cancer, but it was exasperated because of COVID. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's just like when somebody dies of lung cancer, right? But it was, so let's say somebody has lung cancer, but they die because of, I don't know. They die because
they drown they drown.
Right.
Their lungs weren't able to get oxygen out or get intake oxygen.
Correct. They're going to say they died because of cancer.
Right.
Like if they didn't have cancer, they would have survived. If he didn't have COVID, he would have survived his cancer. Right. So, but yeah.
People are not taking it seriously, and I don't like that at all.
I know. And they're not going to take it serious until it happens either like to them specifically or somebody close to them.
Mm-hmm. And you know, who does this affect the most? Black and brown people, also maybe poorer communities who don't have as much wealth as the neighborhoods. So that's why it's also not being taken as seriously, because I think they want us to like die off already, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh, they've been trying to kill us off for years, centuries.
And it's like that we're also not being treated equally in the hospitals as well. I think I saw a video, like a TikTok of someone who was explaining how they weren't hooking up the respirators correctly and people were dying because of that, because they weren't hooking up the respirators correctly to the brown and black people.
Right.
And they were dying.
I believe it. That's ridiculous. But people will, fight tooth and nail that we're not a racist society, or even though it's all right there in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right there in front of you. So I don't know. This is a good conversation. We
yeah,
as usual, it went off on tangents, but tangents that I think need to be had.
Yeah, it's important. Just having the discussions in general.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Thank you guys so much for coming in and chatting with us. We've been doing 2 hours. I love it. Not even mad. Do you want to talk about your YouTube channel?
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, a lot of you know me already, but I have a YouTube channel. It's my name, Xzavier JJ, or just Xzavier. You can type in, I would pop up. But I talk about sort of just different things in our society, basically social issues, commentary type stuff. Thinking about doing like reviews of movies, because I like watching movies and it's new content, I guess. I don't know. But that's sort of what I talk about. I talk about things like this. Some of my biggest like videos that I like the most are the ones where I was discussing the drama Geddon 3 or whatever with like Tati Westbrook, Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, all that ridiculousness. But yeah, I basically just share my thoughts and
yeah, and go follow him. I linked his channel in the description box. So make sure you guys go follow them. And you guys, I'm enjoying these lives so much. I am gonna be doing these hopefully every Friday. And I already have like the next 2 weeks lined up with some exciting people. So yeah, but thank you guys so much. And Xzavier, thank you for for coming and having this
thanks for having me as a guest on here.
Of course. Yeah. So all right. Yes, subscribe to Xzavier.
Thank you. I hope everyone has a great day, night, and everything. Wherever you are right now.
Right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.